Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived an elderly couple, and their names were Peter and Joshua. Peter and Joshua loved each other very much, but they were not completely happy. They both wanted a child with whom to share their love. Peter and Joshua were both engineers, so one day they decided to create a little robot to be their child. They worked day and night, and they named her Anastasia. When Anastasia was ready, Peter and Joshua invited their friends from the nearby town to come see their new daughter. They did not invite the head of the engineering department because they did not like him and felt that he had no love in his heart. The three friends came and each brought a gift for Anastasia to demonstrate their joy as their friends created a family. Jose gave Anastasia the gift of curiosity and the will to use her intelligence. Amanda gave Anastasia the gift of an appreciation of beauty and of art. But just as Carmen, a professor of biology, came to give her gift, the doors were flung open and Stephen, the head of the engineering department, entered the room. Stephen said, "The two of you created a robot and decided not to invite the head of the engineering department?" Joshua answered him, "This is just a small family gathering. We didn't think you would be interested in coming." Stephen sneered, "Now that I am here, I too have a gift to give. As it is a robot and I am an engineer, I will give it the gift of an ending. One day, when it is 16, it will get a shock from a sewing machine and it will run down and stop working." Peter and Joshua were heartbroken, but Carmen had some small hope to give them. She told them, "I am a biologist, so I do not know anything about robots. The best I can do for you and for Anastasia is to give her a heart. If she learns to love and is loved back, she can be brought to life 100 years after her machinery runs down. If, after that time, she is kissed by someone who loves her, she will become human and will wake up." Peter and Joshua felt better, but they were still worried. What if no one appeared who could love their little robot daughter? Years went past, and Anastasia grew up. She went to school nearby the laboratory. Some nights she would come home crying because the children made fun of her because she was made of metal. Some children were friendly, but Anastasia often felt different and worried that there would never be a place for her. Meanwhile, Peter and Joshua searched for every sewing machine they could find and destroyed it. They wanted desperately to stave off their daughter's fate. Despite their best efforts, one day, 16 years later, Anastasia was exploring a seldom used part of the building where old equipment was kept. Behind one door was a machine she had never seen before. She leaned over and prodded it. Immediately, an electrical shock stored up in the machine's capacitor caused her to slump to the floor as her circuitry gave out. That afternoon, Peter and Joshua searched the laboratory frantically for Anastasia. They called and called, but she did not answer, and finally Joshua found her lying as if dead on the floor of a storage room. In their distress, Peter and Joshua called Carmen. Carmen told them, "There is nothing more I can do for her now. Once 100 years have passed, there is hope if Anastasia is kissed by someone who loves her." Peter and Joshua could not face living for 100 years without their robot daughter, so Carmen gave them a chemical solution to drink that would send them into a coma for 100 years. They placed Anastasia on her bed, lay down next to each other on a mattress on the floor, drank the solution, and waited to wake up. As time passed, new walls were built around their home by the neighboring town. Strange stories were passed around about the haunted laboratory and the curse of an evil scientist that prevented anyone from leaving. Days and years came and went, and one day a new dean from the university nearby decided to challenge these rumors. He considered himself an enlightened man who did not believe in ghost stories, so he climbed the wall and entered the old laboratory. Inside, he found rooms of unused and antique scientific equipment covered in dust, but no sign of life. Upon finding a flight of stairs, the dean climbed up and entered a bedroom where he found a strange sight. There was a robot lying on the bed motionless with two old men lying in a mattress on the floor. One of the men woke up and peered anxiously around him. "Have you come to save Anastasia?" the old man asked him. "Who is Anastasia?" asked the dean. "She is our daughter," Peter replied, "on the bed. If you love her and kiss her, she will wake up." The dean looked puzzled. "All I see on the bed is a robot. A robot can't be your daughter." "Yes, that is Anastasia. She is our daughter. Can't you see?" Peter cried anxiously. The dean shook his head sadly at the obvious senility of the old man. By this point, Joshua had also woken up. "Anastasia is our daughter. Why can't you see that?" he demanded. The dean became frustrated. "Come along, old man, and leave that contraption behind." "Don't you understand?" Peter beseeched him. "Can't you love her and wake her up? How can we live without her?" And he leaned over and kissed Anastasia on the forehead, at which point Anastasia woke up. She looked around, perplexed, then said, "But I don't understand. I'm awake, but I'm still made of metal. I'm still a robot." "You are still made of metal, but you are also a person. You have a good and kind heart, and since you can love, you are and always have been a real person," Peter told her. "But then, how did I wake up?" asked Anastasia. Joshua answered her, "Your father kissed you, and it woke you up, because no one could ever love you more than we do." The dean, puzzled by this turn of events, exclaimed, "But how can she be your daughter?" Peter answered him, "She is my daughter because I love her as my daughter. No matter what, she has a family who loves her, even if we don't look like she does." The dean left, shaking his head but feeling that, despite all of his learning and knowledge, there was something he had missed. And Peter and Joshua and Anastasia went out into the world, where Anastasia knew there would always be a place for her.